Welcome to the Speed to Dominate podcast. I'm your host, Coach Harper, Coach Derrick Harper, to be exact. And here we are with another podcast, man. I'm glad that you guys have shown up, that you're here. You're on YouTube. You're listening on Apple Podcasts. You're listening on Google Podcasts. You're listening on all these different platforms that we have available. And, man, it's been amazing, this ride that we've been on early on, as this is in our early set of podcasts. And man, it's just been good. So I can't wait to get started today, because today we're going to be talking about how do you find the right time to do speed, right? How do you find the right time to do speed? So a lot of people that I've talked to have found that they've been doing a lot of speed work, and then their kids plateau, and then they regress. And then a lot of them are doing speed work, and then they feel like they're not getting them to the very peak that they could get to, you know, during the season. And they're trying to find that balance. Like, where do we start our speed work so we can get our kids faster and so they peak during championship season? Okay. So for those of you who don't know, championship season is that season when you guys are running your regional championships, your district championships. If you're in college, you know, your sectionals and all of those different type of things before you get to NCs and all of those things. So we're going to talk about that today, and I'm going to give you what I do for my teams and how we get these kids to perform at the highest level right when they need to, and how our training looks over the course of the season. All right, so we're going to talk about those things. But first, I want to tell you just a little bit of a backstory on how I learned this stuff and where does it come from and how did I tweak it to make it my very own. And it starts with a little school in a little town called Hampton, Virginia. And my school that I used to go to is called Bethel High School. And Bethel High School, like I said, it's in a small town in southeastern Virginia on the peninsula. It's called Bethel High School in Hampton, Virginia. And this school is significant. The school is significant. Why? Because of one of the big names that came out of it. There's a lot of other names that came out of it, but one of the most significant names that has come out of Bethel High School is Allen Iverson. Now, listen, I know we're not talking basketball, but we're just saying this is just to put it in perspective where sports are at this school. So Allen Iverson has come out of there. There's a lot of other athletes that came out of there that played pro football and pro basketball. But here's one that you guys may know, and her name is Francena McCory. Okay, so Francena McCory is a two-time, and she might be three-time Olympic gold medalist. Now I gotta remember how many that she's done, how many she's won. She's two-time, at least two. Let's say that, at least two-time Olympic gold medalist. And when I have her on the show, she'll correct me and make sure it's done right, right? But from that school, Francena McCory came from there, and her coach, which was also my coach, was Coach Coach Edward Williams, who is now the head coach of the girls at Virginia Military Institute. Now, here's a little backstory. Here's a little history on Bethel High School in case you don't know. Now, a lot of coaches around the area know Bethel High School from setting records nationally, right? So Bethel High School, in the late 90s, when I went to high school many moons ago, in the late 90s, we had a dynasty come through Bethel High School. We had, you know, the likes of Era Towns, who ran at Indiana University, Marie Giles, who went to Alabama and then transferred to Virginia Tech. We had just these names, okay, that came through Bethel High School all at the same time, and they had a dynasty from 1997 through 2000. From 1997 through 2000, where they were winning state championships indoor and then outdoor and then indoor and then outdoor, back to back. And I believe it started probably like in 97, where they got this picture of the three girls winning the 100-meter dash. One was winning and the other one finished second and third. So they had three girls in the 100, first, second, third. and just blew it away, won the state championship. And man, there was just these girls, there's just this dynasty, like back-to-back state championships, all right? And not only were they winning state championships, because let's face it, there's times that coaches win state championships, and they win state championships in non-impressive fashions, right? Now, I'm not to take anything away from anybody, because yeah, you win a state championship, you win a state championship. Nobody can take that away from you. But when Bethel was winning state championships, they were competing on the national level. For example, I believe in 97 or 98, and Coach Eddie, when he gets on here, he'll tell you the story again, but he'll correct me. But I believe 97, 98, Bethel High School girls set a record at the pin relays for the American. They held the American 4x1 record, and that record stood for a very long time. And I believe it got broken around 2012, between 2012 and 2015. So from 97 to 2012, 2015 is a significant amount of time to hold a record at one of the largest meets in the world, right? One of the largest meets in the country, definitely one of the largest meets in the country, and if not one of the largest meets in the world. And they won championships of America, and they have these huge plaques that they brought back to Bethel High School, right? And on top of that, they won championships, right? Back to back, except for 1 year, where we had, and Coach Eddie will tell you this story, where he had one coach. It was a young coach. She came in and she forgot to enter the number one 400-meter runner in the state into the 400-meter dash. And then the night before, they realized, hey, if he can't get her in there and they can't run, then they were not going to win the state championship that year. So they sat in the room and they cried, and they got all their crying out, and they said, okay, what we can do is we can go and finish strong. All right. So they ended up not winning the state championship that year because of that one little mistake. But it's okay. We're not going to hold it against Coach. I'm not going to say her name. But anyway, with Bethel High School, guys, a lot of people in the area, they knew, and definitely around the state, they knew that Bethel High School wasn't going to run fast until Virginia Tech. Now, Virginia Tech is a meet inside of our indoor season that usually falls right in the middle of the season. Now, it doesn't fall in the middle of the season per se by the time we start to the end, but throughout the entire season, including the conditioning time. And so that's the first point I want to come to with this. So how do you guys really plan out your year? When is it time for us to do speed? When is it time for us to do speed work? And then what does our speed work look like? Or what does our workouts look like or consist of in the time leading up to, and then in the time afterwards? Okay, so we're going to talk about a little bit about that right now. So the first point that I want to come to is that we want to find that midway point, right? That midway point right in smack dab in the middle of our season. Now, again, I've learned this from Coach Eddie Williams, and when I have him on, he's going to explain this a lot more in depth to you, so you guys can really, really get a true understanding of it. And I can't wait to have him on. So we're going to get him on as soon as possible. But we look at the entire season as a whole, from the very beginning of the season. I'm talking about conditioning to the very, very end of the season, and we have to find that middle point. Of the season. And when we find that middle point of the season, that's exactly the point where we're going to start doing our speed work. And then we're going to plan our workouts backwards. All right, from that. Now, always, when I start doing my workouts, I always plan my workouts backwards. I plan from the midpoint of the season back. And sometimes I tweak it just depending on what type of kids I have and what type of speed that I have on the team, right? So if I have kids that are not as good, because like when I first started at Berkmar, I had kids that were young, right? They were young. I had a bunch of freshman girls come in. That was my bunch. I loved that bunch. And they were brand new. Let's just put it like that. They were brand new and they had potential. And I knew that I couldn't really put a lot of speed work on them closer to the middle of the season. So I waited to the end of the season, got them used to pacing and everything. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Got them used to pacing and everything. And then I put my speed work a little bit further along in the season. And of course, they all peaked at the right time. They had an amazing meet And we'll talk about that in a second. But right in the middle of the season is kind of where you want, is that kind of that rule of thumb where you want to actually start doing your speed work. Okay. And so then we're going to move backwards. And so what does our workouts look like if we move backwards? So that brings me to my second point. What our workouts are going to look like moving from the middle of the season and going backwards? All right. So what we tend to do, or what I tend to do, is I run my kids on 3-week cycles with a 4th week of active recovery. Okay. Now, if some of you might be saying, that doesn't sound anything like spectacular. But for some people, it's like, oh, wow, really? Explain that to me, right? So what we do is we run our kids on a cycle. All right. So we run pacing workouts. And our pacing workouts, and we run them on a cycle. And it's designed for strength. It's designed to get the kids strong so they can make it through these races. And a lot of times we'll see them actually start to get faster. And they're getting faster because they're stronger and not necessarily because we actually started the speed work. And Coach Eddie, man, I'm telling you, when when these things happen, when we start seeing that these kids are actually getting faster before we actually start the speed work, his famous things, he's like, look what time we ran. Look what time they ran. Like, oh man, they're doing this. And he said, you know what the crazy part is? We ain't even done no speed work yet. Right? That's his thing. We haven't even done any speed work yet. So that's the beauty of it. And a lot of coaches don't like to touch this because they feel like if I'm not doing the speed work, then we're not doing anything. Matter of fact, why are we at track practice? Right? And a lot of times you come to my track practice, you'll hear me say, hey kids, you're running too fast. Running too fast. Like the first time I said that, when I remember saying that at Bethel High School for the first time. And I said it to one of my students and he said, too fast? Oh, thank God. We're running too fast. I need to slow down. Then another kid said, Coach, why? What you mean you're running too fast? Why would I be running too fast? It's track practice. I should be running faster, right? I was like, yeah, that makes sense, right? For you to be at track practice to run faster. But in actuality, what we need to be doing is running at a pace that we know we need to be running at so that we can train at that pace. You can get that internal clock. Your body knows what it feels like. You can get strong at that pace, and then we're going to move up, right? Nothing out of the ordinary, right? Nothing out of the ordinary. That's what most people do, right? But what most people do is they add speed work, and then they move too fast, all right? Then they move too fast, and they move up too fast. And there's guidelines and things that what you're supposed to do if you move too fast and you find that your kids can't do it. There's guidelines for that too. I'm not going to jump into all of that. If you guys need any more help with something like that, then you can definitely see the description in the down in the description. I have a link there where I can teach you everything that I'm telling you today, and we can implement it into your school or into your program very easy. So you can let my team help you do that. And it's no problem. Schedule a call down below. So if you're on YouTube, links in the description. If you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, it's in the show notes there for you. Okay. So we're going to go back. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get these pacing workouts together. So what does our pacing workouts look like? I'm going to tell you exactly what my pacing workouts look like. All right. So you guys can go put it to practice. All right. So what we do and what we've always done that has worked for the last 25 years, on Mondays is going to be our longer days. All right. So you can do anything like 300s, 600s, just a longer day. Okay. 450s, whatever you want to do on those days, but it needs to be something long. And what we typically do is 300s, and we start with 4 of them. And when they first get onto that thing, guys, I'm telling you, it beats them all the way up. Right. So we all love those beat them up type of workouts as coaches, right? Because we're like, oh, we've done something, we've accomplished something, we've got them all laid out at the end of practice, right? But it's not necessarily for that, because what we're trying to do, again, is build up their strength and endurance at that speed for that period of time. So what we do is we make the time almost incredibly slow for them, right? And we start them out with that. Okay. Now this is season going forward. This is not conditioning. Conditioning, we do little different things, but season going forward, we start them out with that workouts, and we usually start them with about 4 300s. All right. And then from there on the Tuesdays, we'll come and we'll do a recovery workout. Okay, whatever recovery that you feel like you need to do, you can do that. 30-minute runs. We can do in and outs. You guys can do strides, 10 to 20 stride outs, and then we do weight room after that. Okay. And then on Wednesdays we'll come back, and this is like the meat of our work here. One of the parts of the meat of the work. So we on our meat of the work, we start doing our 200-meter workouts. Oh my gosh. I can remember in school at Bethel High School, and Coach Eddie would 200, 200. I mean, of course, if you got sprinters, 200s, right? And not only this is just for sprinters. If you tweak what we got going on, and you can make it at a different distance for your mid-distance runners, and then for your distance runners, so you can take the same thing. And I've done it for my mid-distance kids. Take the same formula, and I just plug in different distances in this formula, and it works like magic. I'm telling you, every single time. All right, so on our Wednesdays we're doing our 200s, and so we have a formula that we use for our 200s to where we start with 8. All right, and then we trickle down, and we go down as we move on, like most people do. So we'll start with our 8 200s. We'll put them at a time where the kids can hit the time, and they can hit it with a little bit of work, maybe comfortably, hopefully comfortably, but with a little bit of work. And we get them there, and we get it to where we see our top guy or our top girl hitting it consistently, and they're doing it without, any problems. Okay. So we'll run that on Wednesdays, and then on Thursdays we'll come in and we'll do another recovery type of day. Okay. And it also depends on if we have a meet. So we have a meet on Friday. On Thursday, we'll come back to back with 2 hard days. All right, and then we'll rest on Friday, get our work in, and then we'll go to the meet on Friday. Or it depends on if we have a Friday meet, we'll rest on Thursday again, and then Friday we'll hit it. If we have a Saturday meet, then we'll do what we normally do: recovery on Thursday, and then Friday we'll move to what we call a ladder or a chair, what most people call a ladder or a chair, and that consists of for us 1 300, 2 200s, and 3 100s. Okay, and so we don't make them go up and then down. What we do is we just start at the top and we go down, or we start at the bottom and we go up. Either way we do it, it works very, very well. The kids respond to it. The workout hurts. And it's a very good workout. It's good for pacing, but that is kind of your barometer there. That's kind of like lets you know, are my kids getting it? Are they able to make it through the workouts? And if they are making it through the workouts, are they struggling at it? Are they good? Are they hitting these times? And I'm telling you guys, as you continue to do this and you continue to work through it, you'll be able to tell exactly what they're going to do before they actually do it. Or they'll run, and you're watching the clock, and boom, they come through 12 seconds, and you're like, okay, they're getting ready to run 43. Like literally, like it works just like that. It works almost like magic, guys. And like I said, we've been doing it for 25 years. Coach Eddie's been doing it for about 25 to 30 years, and I picked up on it, been doing it for the last 14, and it works every single time. All right. So that's what our week looks like. And so what we do then is we plug that into a 3-week cycle, right? We plug that into a 3-week cycle. So we do those for 3 weeks, and then we do an active recovery week. Okay. So in that recovery week, we do, just recovery workouts, a lot of technique things, a lot of strength during that recovery week. You can design it the way you want to design it. Of course, we design it the way we design it. And every day we're doing some type of recovery, 30-minute runs, in and outs. We're doing stride outs. We're doing technical work. That's when we got the cones out. That's when we're doing resistance with the small bands, with the leg resistance. So we're doing all those different type of things for recovery. And then we go back. Oh, my kids love the recovery weeks. And you'll see as you start doing it, the kids will start to love the recovery weeks. Oh my gosh, recovery. Yes. Recovery week. Yes. Right. And then a lot of times we think that if we do a recovery week that they kind of lose their conditioning, and it really doesn't work like that. Like, of course, on Monday when they go back, because you're gonna raise your times or make your times faster, right? When you go back into the next week or not, just depends on how the kids are performing. All right, that barometer, remember that Friday is that barometer, that chair workout is the barometer. Lets you know, are they getting it? Can they get it? And then the 200s too. If they're getting it on Friday, then you know you can move up. All right, especially after the third week. Only after the third week, I should say. All right, so then we go back onto another cycle. We drop the time. We do it again. Recovery week. Next cycle, we drop the time again. Okay, we drop the time and we drop the amount. And once we get to that certain point, like I said, in the middle of the season, most of the time in the middle of the season, that's when we know we hit speed work. And it's usually about 3 cycles that we can go through before we hit that speed work. We hit that speed work and then boom, we're off to the races. So that's exactly how we do it. And again, guys, if you need any help with this, implementing this into your program, and I'm telling you, this program that I've just explained to you, what we've done is we've created state champions with this. 400-meter state champions, 100-meter state champions. We've had 4x1, definitely 4x4 state championships over and over and over and over again. We've won actual team state championship titles. I took it to my school, and we went from, like in our district, like I had brand new kids. We went from 7th place to 4th place in one season. 7th place, one season, came up 4th place. I've had kids that first year making it to the sectionals and then going on to state. And we've done that. I've done that at Berkmar with new kids, right? New kids. And then we went to Roswell and we did it at Roswell. And we continue to do it. We continue to do it with the kids that I'm working with now, like my daughter, right? She's top number 2 in the nation at long jump, right? Because we've put that same work. She's gotten faster because we put that same work together in the same package, and we just made it for long jump. And it plugs into every single thing that you can think of, every single part of the track that runs, right? You can plug it in everywhere, and it works, okay? And so that's what we'll do. Again, of course, guys, if you need some help with this, my team and I can help you implement this into your program. Just click the link to set up a call with me in the description under this YouTube podcast. Or if you're on listening to Apple Podcasts or anything like that, you can find it in the show notes. So it'll be there for you. So like always, guys, I'm glad that you came in and you listened. And I just want to leave you with this, is that everything that you do today affects your future. So remember tomorrow, and I'll talk to you soon.